to do Harkonnen, can you talk to me about the physical transformation you had to do that?
Horrible. What else can I say? I mean, I'm sitting in a fucking chair for 8 hours.
How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you doing?
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Congratulations on Andor. I think it's great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm very pleased with it.
Have you been following much of the response to it?
No, I just skimmed the reviews today, or saw the headlines of the reviews, and then all my agents started mailing me. So I know it's good.
When you hear from them, it's pretty good. What got you interested in it in the first place?
I was interested in working with Tony Gilroy, because he's such a good writer.
Yeah.
But then he sent me the script, and the script, I think I had the first 3 episodes, and it was really good. But I waited till I saw the. He told me the rest of the story for what was going to happen, and then also I was interested in working with Diego Luna again, because I worked with him early on a film that never became anything, that was called A Goal, about football playing. It broke down.
The film broke down?
Yeah, and it was picked up by somebody else afterwards.
Oh no! Ah. So you got to work with this guy again, with Diego Luna again, and get another crack at it.
Yeah, and he's such a wonderful and rather rare actor.
Yeah,
and a gentle person. He looks like he is. He's wonderful.
Tell me about Luthen. Tell me about how you see him. I was talking in the introduction a little bit about how I see him as this, and you and I were talking before we turned the microphones on, Stellan, about how I see this show as sort of like a morally complex version of Star Wars. How do you see the character?
The people don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy, which I really like, because none of us are really good guys or bad guys. I mean, it's like real people, and he does really terrible things, but so does any general. He sacrifices people for a cause, and so does every military. But is it the right course? You don't know. And you don't know, often you don't know until much later if it was the right cause. So this ambiguity, the gray zones, I'm very interested in.
The complexity, the fact that this isn't a hero or a villain necessarily is something that got you on board.
Yeah, and at the same time, I wanted to do a hero. Of course, I've been 7 years old too.
I heard you say something like, "This is the role that you'd like." There's parts of this role that remind you of the roles you'd like to play when you were a little boy.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it has the ingredients. The 7-year-old boy's dream of being an action hero. But it also has something. When I was about 10 years old, I saw The Scarlet Pimpernel with Leslie Howard, a black and white film on television.
That dreaded Pimpernel.
That dreaded Pimpernel. Oh, they seek him here, they seek him there. Those Frenchies seek him everywhere. Is he in heaven? Is he in hell? That damned elusive Pimpernel. Yeah. So, and he's a kind of double character as well, like this one. And I always dreamt about doing him. And then I got the chance.
Was that early on? Like when you first started acting, were you drawn to that nuance even then? Did you know? Because one of the things I said in the intro is like, this guy, it's hard to pin you down in terms of the roles that you take on, something that you're aware of. What was the first performance that made you even go like, I think I want to do this at all? This is what I'm drawn to?
I don't know. I want to have fun. That is basically what I want to do.
But right from the beginning, like when you first started acting?
Yeah. But I was much more pretentious when I was young. Of course, you are.
Yeah.
And you just want to do you want to do Bergman masterpieces. Point. And don't touch anything else. But there's only so few roles. But then I did a film called Good Evening, Herr Wallenberg. Guten Abend, Herr Wallenberg. It was about the Holocaust, about this Wallenberg character who was existed in real life, who saved the ghetto in Budapest during the Second World War. And when we shot that film, it became so, suddenly it didn't become important if the film was good art, or successful or anything. The only thing that became important was that we were truthful to those people who had experienced this.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, when I had done that, it turned out very well. But after I'd done that, nothing was interesting to me. Anything, nothing. I looked at all the script, and no, there's nothing. It didn't have that depth of it. So then I got much more careless. I said, fuck it, I can play anything. And then I found a new pleasure in the lighter things too.
I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to talk a little bit about like sort of how you've been between this sort of experimental, critically acclaimed film. I mean, I mentioned Lars von Trier there, and sort of the Marvel-ness of your and Star Wars and Disney-ness of your career as well. I don't want to lose you without mentioning that you did Good Will Hunting, which is sort of in between those two worlds, really. It was a big popcorn. It was a big movie that did very well, but it was also an incredibly emotionally complex movie. I didn't know this till last night. That was shot here, in Toronto.
It was my first time here.
What do you remember about that, about shooting that here?
I rented a house in Wishford Park and brought all my family over here. I usually travel with my family, you know. And, we had a lovely time, but it was with Gus Van Sant too, and he's such a wonderful person.
How was Robin? How was Robin Williams?
Robin Williams had three brains working at the same time. I mean, he was unstoppable. But if you had him alone, you could sit and talk to him and be serious, and everything was calm and fine. But then when other people started to come into the room, he sort of went into second gear, and he became extremely funny. It was also sad in a way.
Yeah. I've met people like that. I've met people who, when they're in here with me just one-on-one before we turn the microphones on, they're quiet and calm, and we're sort of having a very cerebral conversation. And then when the microphone turns on, they become someone else.
Of course, you see it all the time.
They're someone else entirely.
Yeah.
How did you know that? Did you have any sense? What strikes me about that, I'm thinking about what you said about how, I wanted the films I worked on to be good. I wanted them to tell good stories, and I wanted them to have, I'm not using the right words here, but like solidity behind them. What strikes me about Good Will Hunting is that Ben Affleck and Matt Damon were unknown at that point. When you got the script, did you have a sense? I got the script, and it was presented to me as this small independent film that we were going to do. And I read it, and it was so good that I thought it was a small independent film. Yeah, right. It's a cliche in a way, the way it's built as a storytelling thing, but it's done with so much insight in those characters, because they wrote them from their own experiences at the MIT, you know. And so you kind of knew it, you kind of saw it. I went up and we had a reading of the script. Me and Robin Williams and the boys and Gus Van Sant, and it came alive in such a wonderful way. You knew it. It had a charm. It had intelligence. It wasn't popcorn really. It was something else. It was good. I'm rounding my way back to Star Wars, but this is a Canadian show, so I want to talk about Dune for a second. And you worked with the great Quebecois director Denis Villeneuve on that. When I was doing my research for this, I saw you describe him as a cinematic poet. And I just spoke to Hans Zimmer, who I brought up Denis Villeneuve, and he spoke beautifully about what he means and what a great director he is. I'd like to hear from an actor on the side of things. You know, what do you mean by cinematic poet? What do you see in him? He doesn't like words. He likes cinema, and when the script, he sort of he's very careless. He can throw out whole lines, and sometimes the producer gets nervous. But they won't understand if this is not in it. But he's feeling the art, the sort of the picture, so much that. But when you work with him in the studio, he doesn't say much to you. He doesn't sort of direct you much. But you see, when you come into the studio, you see, okay, this is going to be something extra.
It's because everything is so beautiful. It's so gentle. He's a gentle man.
He creates the conditions for this to happen more than he does force this to happen.
Yeah. And also, I mean, to work with him, it's a big fucking movie. But but everybody's is calm, and everybody's gentle, and everybody's nice, and everybody's having a good time.
How was putting on the big thing? Like, how was the to do Harkonnen? Can you talk to me about the physical transformation you had to do that?
Horrible. What else can I say? I mean, I'm sitting in a fucking chair for 8 hours. And
but getting stuff put on you.
Yeah, getting stuff put on me. And then I have about 8 hours to shoot as well. So, no, it was horrible. It was a torture. I said I would not harm them, and I shall not. But Arrakis is Arrakis. And the desert takes the weak. My desert. My Arrakis. My Dune. But it was worth it in a while, but I wouldn't have. I shot only 10 days on the first film and 10 days on the second film, and so I maybe had 30 times I put it on if you count the tests and stuff. But it's horrible, and I couldn't pee or I couldn't go to the bathroom. So I took Imodium in the morning.
Go away, because you were sealed up in this thing.
I mean, it would take an hour for them to release my genitals.
I'm just going to cut that and make that my ringtone.
Yeah.
How did you find any? I'm trying to get a sense of you as a working actor, because you've just done a lot. And you think you like to work and you like the craft of acting. And I can't tell whether this is a outside the film industry question, something that only I think about, or something that actors think about. When you go into that Star Wars world, is there any pressure of like, okay, this is another world that I'm entering now. This is a world that means a lot to a lot of people. This is a world that has a lot of lore and all that stuff around it.
No, it didn't mean a lot to me. So it's
you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, and you can, of course, you can be nervous about things for that reason, but you have so much else to be nervous about. You have to. I mean, acting is the most frightful thing the most frightful job you can imagine. It's because you have to be on the edge all the time. It's not, you can't play safe.
I don't know what you mean.
No, it's hard to explain.
Yeah, I'd love to know though. Frightful.
Yeah, because if you get nervous, if you get scared, you block yourself. I mean, you can't produce anything of value. You can't produce life, and it has to be alive. You know, you have to be relaxed to let the life flow out of you. But you can't do that if you're afraid. So your worst enemy is yourself in a way. It is the fear, and you have to conquer the fear over and over again throughout the years. And you don't get less frightful or less frightened when you get older or more experienced.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you can do the things that you can do with your left hand, but that's not fun.
Is the only way around the fear through it? Like, do you have techniques to get through the fear of that?
Yeah, well, I have techniques in the sense that I gotta feel safe on the set. I gotta like the people on the set, and I want them to like me, and everybody we're playing together, and you don't make things become more nerve-wracking than it already is. You prefer a looser set. You prefer to work with as few restrictions as possible. But you of course, you have them anyway.
Well, but I have a question around that. Is when I see your career, I mentioned the Lars films earlier. Great experimentation, smaller films, and then we're talking about Andor, and we could also be talking about Marvel. We could be talking about the Thor movies. This is something that I wanted to get from your perspective. Do you think critics or other filmmakers get something wrong when they talk about a Marvel movie? What I mean by that is, are there things that might be dismissed by others in movies that size that take real craft or discipline to pull off?
Yes and no. I mean, it's some of them are the role is sometimes reduced to a function that just has to trigger something. And that is and everything else is cut away. And if they cut away when you don't talk, then you're fucked.
When they cut away when you don't talk,
then you're fucked, because half of the acting is between the lines,
reacting, pausing.
Reacting, and the lines, it might be sort of just dropped like a turd, poof, like that, and then comes the reaction, that says what the line was intended as. A director who doesn't see that kind of acting is you have problems with. So who doesn't take care of watching you between the lines, and if you just cut it like a sort of a ping pong game.
Yeah.
But truly, you can still find in most of those popcorn movies, there are things that you can expand on. And I can say that, like we talked about Dune, that's a character that I don't have place. I don't have room to explain his childhood, how he was behaved, or how he was molested as a child, and that thus became this fucking monster. I just have to play the monster because he doesn't have much base. I play the monster, but at the same time, I can make him very, very delicious.
I'm now understanding what you said at the beginning, where you said the thing that attracted me to this character Luthen in Andor is that he is of complexity. He is a bad guy and a good guy, and aren't we all? Because what you're telling me is that as an actor, you get to play. It's fun to play in that world of complexity.
Yeah,
is that right?
That's right. It's and the contradictions. I mean, sometimes you see a role and people say, well, he's like that, but you seldom say about, or you shouldn't say about a human being that, well, he's like that, because they surprise you, and you cannot even you should as an actor be surprised by your character, and that's fun.
Do you have conversations like that with the kids? Do you have conversations like this with the sons who got into acting about, like, hey, this is how you should approach it and all that?
No. I let them. They're pretty good at doing it.
They are?
Yeah.
When they were coming up, if you want to do this thing, you got to do that.
Yeah, no, I don't want to. I could, of course, sort of give them a one-on-one class of acting, but it's... they have to make their own mistakes and find their own success, because otherwise I will get the credit for them being successful, or I'll get the blame for them being not successful.
Yeah, fair enough.
Which is worse.
I'll close off by saying that what I loved about the show is that I said this to you before we got going, but I'll say it again. Is that I grew up watching Star Wars and lightsabers, and it was a Western, really. George Lucas used to call it a Western. It's nice that as I've grown up and looked for stories that are more complex morally, that franchise and that show has grown up with me.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Isn't that the best?
Yeah, that's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I've seen all of them because I've had kids all the time.
Yeah.
So whether I want to see them or not, I've seen them. But some of them, there were really good ones and the really bad ones, and in the first ones they were as in a way George Lucas in the originals were doing it as a comment on everyday politics of the world, and then it got lost in lightsabers.
And do you see this show picking that up?
Yeah, this is more this in this show. There's a society, and you feel the society. You feel the oppressive society. You have different worlds, and you have different cultures, and you feel them, and you see that they think differently than we do, and it's a much more personal and colorful life, and it of course becomes political.
In that we have to think about the humanity of those involved in a conflict.
Yeah, and we have to see the functions of. I mean, it's been going on for thousands of years that we have been had revolutions and counter-revolutions and stuff, but it's good to be reminded about it now and then.
And it's good to see it through this lens that through this story that we've all known for so long. Thanks for coming in. I wish we could have talked for longer, but it's nice to chat with you.
Thank you very much.